Why does Iran remain in conflict with the United States? Why do tensions between these two countries keep returning to the headlines, year after year, decade after decade? And why does what happens inside Iran matter not just to the Middle East, but to the entire world? To understand what's happening today, we need to slow down, step back, and look at the bigger picture. Calmly, clearly, and step by step. This story doesn't begin in 2026. It begins more than 70 years ago. In 1953, Iran had a democratically elected prime minister named Mohammad Mossadegh. His government decided to nationalize Iran's oil industry, which at the time was largely controlled by Western companies. That decision threatened foreign economic interests, and soon after, a coup took place, backed by the United States and the United Kingdom, removing Mossadegh from power. Following the coup, Iran was ruled by a monarch known as the Shah, who was strongly supported by the United States. Under the Shah, Iran experienced rapid modernization, but political freedom was limited. Dissent was suppressed, and resentment steadily grew among the population. By 1979, that resentment exploded into a full-scale revolution. The Shah was overthrown, and Iran became an Islamic republic under the leadership of Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. This revolution completely transformed Iran's relationship with the United States. Shortly afterward, Iranian students seized the US embassy in Tehran, taking American diplomats hostage for more than a year. From that moment on, diplomatic relations between Iran and the United States collapsed, and they have never fully recovered. Since then, both countries have viewed each other with deep suspicion. Over the decades, the conflict evolved. It was no longer just about ideology. It became about power, influence, and national security. One of the most significant turning points came with Iran's nuclear program. Iran has consistently said its nuclear activities are intended for peaceful purposes, such as energy production and medical research. The United States and its allies, however, have feared that Iran could eventually develop nuclear weapons. These concerns led to years of economic sanctions, restrictions designed to pressure Iran by limiting its access to global trade and financial systems. In 2015, after lengthy negotiations, Iran and several world powers reached a nuclear agreement known as the JCPOA. Under the deal, Iran agreed to limit its nuclear program in exchange for relief from certain sanctions. But in 2018, the United States withdrew from the agreement and reimposed strict sanctions. The impact on Iran's economy was severe. Inflation surged. The national currency lost much of its value. Everyday goods became more expensive. Unemployment increased. For years, ordinary Iranians felt the pressure building. By late 2025, that pressure reached a breaking point. Protests broke out across Iran, initially driven by economic frustration, rising prices, shortages, and a declining standard of living. But very quickly, those protests grew into something larger. They became expressions of deeper anger over political control, lack of personal freedoms, and long-standing grievances. The government responded forcefully. Security forces moved in to shut down demonstrations. Thousands of people were arrested. Reports of widespread violence began to emerge. Different sources reported different figures, but human rights organizations claimed that thousands of people were killed during the crackdown. At the same time, Iran imposed strict internet restrictions, making it difficult for information to leave the country and limiting what the outside world could see in real time. As unrest continued, Iran's judiciary announced severe punishments for those accused of participating in protests, including death sentences in some cases. This triggered international outrage. The United States strongly condemned Iran's actions. American officials imposed new sanctions on Iranian leaders and security agencies, accusing them of serious human rights violations. The US president publicly expressed support for Iranian protesters, framing the unrest as a struggle for freedom and basic rights. Iran's leadership responded just as forcefully. They accused the United States of interfering in Iran's internal affairs and warned that any military action would be treated as an act of war. At that point, the conflict once again became a global issue. Because Iran is not just any country. Iran holds a strategic position in the Middle East. It has influence in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen.